The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on and line down the left field line for a base hit.
Fly ball, gap, right center field.
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and Buster Grandma. It is grand salami time.
Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Light the W podcast. This is episode 163 of the show. I'm recording this just after midnight on Wednesday, June 3rd. And the Mariners have won 8 straight games. And again, as I said on Sunday night's recording, Monday morning's episode, they're just finding different ways to win. Last night, they struggled to hit the ball. They had one run on a solo homer, which was their only hit for much of the ball game. Josh Naylor with a huge game-tying home run, and then they just find a way. The bullpen does its job, and the piggyback comes in clutch without even really playing a role in this game. The Mariners' bullpen last week didn't throw a ton of innings, which allowed them to be able to cover the innings that they covered last night. Now, don't get me wrong. Emerson Hancock, he was fantastic. And he went 6 innings. So that helps in of itself. But you were able to cover a clean top of the 10th inning because you still had Gabe Spire, Edward Bizardo, both fresh in your bullpen and ready to throw when you needed them. And Spire was able to face their chunk of lefties. And the Mets' little chunk of lefties in their 3, 4, 5 spots in their order. He gets the clean inning, and the Mariners do their job. Cole Young comes up clutch. Colt Emerson had another bomb. He has been absolutely fantastic. He will be talked about in this episode. And then tonight, you get home runs from Johnny Pareda, as well as Patrick Wisdom. Julio then hits his 4th home run in the last 6 days, continuing his hot, torrid streak as he tries to creep into MVP talks. And the Mariners are doing their thing, playing their best baseball. It's June 3rd right now. This episode will come out on June 3rd. This episode, we're going to talk about the month of May for the Mariners, how the Mariners looked when the calendar flipped to June, and we're going to briefly look at the deadline right now. Let's start with the May recap, though. The way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about hitter, starter, reliever from this month, who I thought was the best in each of those spots. We'll talk about the full season, who's been the best in terms of MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year. And we'll talk about their ranks in terms of some different stats, both offensive and pitching stats, for the full season and for the month of May. To begin, top hitters in the month of May have to be Luke Raley and Julio Rodriguez. Now, originally I was just going to go with Julio Rodriguez because he had a fantastic May, a 152 WRC plus worth 1 F4. I was in 123 plate appearances. He had 10 home runs, the most of any month in his career. But I couldn't ignore the numbers that Luke Raley had. Now, it was only 73 plate appearances, but he hit 328, 403 with a 719 slug percentage. Good enough for a 213 WRC plus. That's 113% better than the league average. With over 1.1 F4, over a win, more than what Julio had, and had 8 home runs in the 73 plate appearances. Ridiculous numbers. The guy has been absolutely unbelievable this season and in the month of May. He's continued it already into this month. And he's a huge reason why the Mariners have began to find some consistent success. It's Luke Rayleigh, it's Julio Rodriguez, it's Randy Arozarena, Colts Emerson. There are so many names as to why the Mariners have really come into their own over this past week and a half. But in the month of May, Luke Rayleigh undeniably had the best numbers of any Mariners hitter with at least 10 at-bats. But I couldn't ignore Julio. It was a 152 WRC plus. He had 10 homers. He was worth a win. And he hit 274, 309 with a 590 slug. An 899 OPS. That's not numbers that I can just ignore in a month of May for Julio, where consistently over the course of his career, he really has struggled. So I had to give both guys a mention. But then I continued looking, and Randy Arozarena I haven't talked about enough. And the month of May he had was unbelievable. Julio, Rayleigh were in a tier of their own, but Randy himself was a 141 WRC plus, 41% above league average, had 8 stolen bases, 7 doubles, and 4 homers. 11 extra base hits and 8 stolen bases in a month is nothing to scoff at. And for a guy going into a contract year, there is a black hole right now for the 2027 Mariners in terms of having an outfielder, a left fielder that you can trust, especially when they can hit left-handed pitching. That's what Randy Arozarena really has been. Mariners desperately needed Randy Arozarena to have a good season. And he's having a career year. The numbers speak for themselves on what Randy Arozarena has done. But look, as much as the lineup is something we talk about all the time with this Mariners team because it's been a weak point over this decade since the calendar flipped post-pandemic into the 2020s, the lineup has been the issue. It's been the weak point for this Mariners team, this Mariners roster, this Mariners organization. But they're starting to have young talent trickle through. And they're starting to get huge production from guys they've traded for, guys they've acquired. They just need guys that are right-handed bats to really come up and flourish against lefties. Julio has done it. Randy has done it. Who else can do it? Victor Robles has made a difference since he's come up. But that's beyond just what he does with the bat. It's not I'm hitting home runs. It's I can get on base. I can come up with a clutch hit and cause havoc on the base paths. I can play good defense. That matters as much as the Mariners might not want to believe it. And it especially matters behind a pitching staff that is your strength of this team. And it's continued that way so far this year and in the past month. Brian Wu, Emerson Hancock have been unbelievable this year. And again, I couldn't pick just one of them. Hancock leads in ERA. Slightly worse in FIP, slightly worse in WHIP. But he leads in ERA. He's better at preventing runs and was still worth nearly a full win. But Brian Wu, while being worse in ERA with a 3.03, was worth nearly a win and a half on Fangraphs. Pitched 5 2/3 more innings with a start more. Had his Ks per 9 over 10, his FIP just barely above 2, his WHIP below 1, and his FIP minus, which is league average to 100, and anything below is above league average, at 55. 45% above league average in terms of his FIP, which is fielding independent. ERA, basically. Counting for what affects you as a pitcher, the home runs, the walks, the strikeouts, those things. Brian was a lead at it. But as is Emerson Hancock, a 2.45 FIP, nothing to scoff at, a WHIP of 1.03, allowing just barely one base runner an inning. In 30 innings, F4 at 0.9, and again, led the team in May with a 2.70 ERA. Unbelievable numbers for both of these guys. And again, a key linch point in this team is this rotation, is this pitching staff. If these two guys at the top are as elite as they have been so far, good things are going to happen. If Logan Gilbert and George Kirby can be the guys we've expected them to be, good things are going to happen. If Bryce Miller is the Bryce Miller we've seen so far this year and of 2 years ago, good things are going to happen. If Luis Castillo can eat up some innings and get quality starts, good things are going to happen. The starting pitching is how this team will find success. And this season, it starts with Brian Wu and shockingly Emerson Hancock, whose new arm slot has been groundbreaking. I saw him be compared to Chris Sale the other day, the right-handed version of Chris Sale. Yeah, I'll take that. And you're telling me this Mariners organization casually just has Ryan Sloan, who might be the best pitching prospect in baseball, a potential number 1 overall prospect in baseball. Oh, and Cade Anderson, who was the number 3 draft pick last year. Many thought he was going to go number 1 overall. And also is potentially the best pitching prospect in baseball. And he's a lefty. Both just waiting in Double-A to be ready. It's unbelievable. Just the amount of riches this organization has in terms of pitching. Pitching on top of pitching on top of pitching. But that's good. That's not a bad problem to have, is too much pitching. There's a saying you can never have too much pitching. But if the Mariners have Brian Wu, Emerson Hancock at the top of this rotation, it's going to be hard to hit them. It's going to be hard to consistently win ball games against them. We saw this Mariners team pretty much at its worst through the first month and a half, because there wasn't consistency in the rotation. If there had been consistency in the rotation, look where we're doing right now. 8 straight wins. Looking to make it 9 and sweep 3 straight series. And then you head to Detroit. Like, the schedule looks good for this Mariners team. And it's because of the starting rotation, as well as the bullpen. And Jose Ferrer has been the Mariners' best and most consistent reliever all year. ERA in the 1s on the season. And an ERA in the month of May of 164, the 2.54 FIP is 0.91 whip, less than a base runner per inning, didn't walk anybody, had 1 hit by pitch, struck out 25% of the batters he faced, 5 holds, had a pair of saves, gave up just 1 home run, and his 11 innings were 3rd most out of the bullpen. Only Cooper Criswell, Edward Pizzardo had more than him. Jose Ferrer has been unbelievable. He's 20th in baseball right now in ERA for the entire season. And his month of May was dominant, consistent, and when the Mariners acquired this guy, there was potential to be seen in him being a future closer for this baseball team. Andres Munoz has struggled. I'm not saying they should make the switch, but Jose Ferrer deserves the opportunities with what he has done so far this season. Because not only are his numbers on the surface of, the ERA unbelievable, but the numbers below that, in terms of barrel rate, in terms of strikeout rate, in terms of walkout rate, in terms of hard hit rate, in terms of whip, in terms of FIP, are all good. He's backed up by each and every single one of them. And he's been good all year, like I said. His 1.69 ERA ranks 20th in baseball this season, while throwing more innings than almost everyone up there. He's tied for 9th in F4 coming from relievers. He's tied for 25th. Close enough. But again, he's thrown 26 and 2/3 innings. You look above him on that list in terms of F4. Who's better in terms of innings? 1 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only 10 of the 25 guys ahead of Jose Ferrer this season in terms of F4 from relievers have thrown more innings. In terms of ERA, he's ranked at 20th and 26.2 innings pitched, more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 of the 19 guys ahead of him. More innings, which means more opportunity to give up runs. And he's been unbelievable. His FIP is unreal. 24th in FIP right now. Underrated. He's been the Mariners reliever of the entire season. But the Mariners MVP of the entire season is Randy Arozarena, without a doubt. Hitting 290, 373, 452, leads the team with 2 wins on Fangraphs, a 9% walk rate, just a 22.5% strikeout rate. He's been 39% above average as a hitter with a 139 WRC plus. He is their MVP. His bat has been the stabilizer. He'll have his ugly at bats. He'll swing out of his shoes. He'll have the other ugly strikeout here and there. But the very next one, he's going to take you yard into the upper deck. And he's going to make sure you know about it. There's a flair, there's an aura to Randy Arozarena that brings something unique and different and special to this Mariners ball club. Something that they've lacked in the past, something that they've needed. It's going to be a tough day when we see him officially leave this offseason. But if there's any way to keep him, do it, because he is crucial to this team. The breakout star has been Emerson Hancock, and he's also been their Cy Young this year, been their most consistent guy through the entire season. He's 4th in innings pitched. This doesn't include his start on June 1st, because we were just looking at through the month of May. All these numbers are through the month of May. A 2.78 ERA and 64 2/3 innings pitched, 1.1 wins above replacement on Fangraphs, and his strikeouts per 9, nearly of 9. Nearly a strikeout per every inning. Hancock's been dominant. Hancock's been great. Hancock's been a surprise. Been exactly what we needed. But the guy that has really allowed this team to turn it around is Colt Emerson. No more Leo Rivas every day. No more Patrick Wisdom all the time. It's Colt Emerson. Has played in 13 games through the end of May. Worth 0.4 wins above replacement on Fangraphs. If you put that to a 162 game pace, he is a 5-win player. Pretty damn good for a 20-year-old in the big leagues. Through the month of May, in his 13 games, he had 244, 340 with a 512 slug, 2 home runs, a 143 WRC plus. If you include June 1st, a 156 WRC plus, added another home run, 3 home runs, 14 games, 0.5 wins above replacement on Fangraphs, and a 568 slug. Rookie of the year for the Mariners. Unbelievable numbers. He looks like the real freaking deal. Now, the Mariners overall in the month of May were above 500. They went 15-13. Well, they ranked 8th in WRC plus at 110, 8th in starting pitcher ERA, 2nd in WHIP from their starting pitchers, 3rd in FIP from their starting pitchers, 9th in FIP from their relievers, 8th in ERA from their relievers, and shockingly 18th in WHIP from their relievers, allowing base runners. They were 11th in OPS. The team was able to hit the ball at a good above average rate. They were able to prevent runs at a good above average rate. They were just waiting for one to become elite. That's what the rotation has done over the past couple of weeks, over the past week and a half, that's allowed this team to take the step forward. On the full season, this team offensively has actually been really good. The only thing they're lacking is doubles. They rank 24th in doubles, but they're 11th in OPS, 10th in stolen bases, 6th in WRC+, and 9th in FWAR. They're doing the thing. They just need the consistency of their elite rotation to be elite. And as we transition here, you look at the deadline, what does this team really need? Look, we know they struggle against left-handed pitching, but that doesn't necessarily mean they need to bring in some big star to fix that. They need more depth pieces in the lineup. A right-handed hitting outfielder that is going to be more consistent, that can play every day potentially, would help. As would a right-handed hitting infielder that could help. The more likely thing I think that they do, though, is address the bullpen. Whether that's a right-handed reliever or a left-handed reliever, they could do someone that's controllable and someone that's going to be there for a few years. That is going to be more of a leverage type, something like a Jose Ferrer, where he could get better and really become a crucial point in this bullpen. Can you get another Matt Brash from the right side? Can you get another Jose Ferrer from the left side? Or you could do something a little bit more marginal and fill out the depth in the bullpen. Or could you do a mix of both? But as the bullpen stands right now, you have one spot to fill. Alex Hoppe is the one guy you could get rid of and really feel fine with. Cooper Criswell deserves his shot to stay. And unfortunately, right now, Luis Castillo is holding a roster spot for the bullpen. They have 6 starters. That means they're an arm short in the pen. Which means all the more reason you just need another leverage arm. Push Pizzardo to a little bit of a lesser role, the role he really belongs in. That's not a problem to have. That's not a bad thing. But if the Mariners want to address the lineup, there's 2 routes. It's a bench bat, that whether it's someone that can truly hit left-handed pitching and is a good hitter, or maybe it's a bench bat that is more of a true bench bat type with speed, defensive value, where he can play around the diamond, bring some vibes, and can hit left-handed pitching would also be nice. Think of it an Ahmed Rosario type. Is that someone that the Mariners could be interested in? Something like that. Someone with speed. Jose Caballero, for example, from the right side. Or you get someone that's controlled and addresses some of your offseason needs. Is it a right-handed hitting outfielder as the replacement to Randy, and Randy moves to more of a DH role, or you just mix and mingle them and you put one in right, and then you have Kenzone and Rayleigh battling for the DH spot. And then what do you do with with Brendan Donovan when he gets back? Cole Young gets some days off, maybe here or there. JP Crawford gets some days off here or there. There is space on this roster for this to exist, but it doesn't need to be that huge impact bat like some people are going to search for, I don't think. Now, if you'd want to go get that, that's a knockout punch. And that's exciting. And you just figure out how to make it work. But you don't need it. You don't have to go overpay for it. You don't have to go scramble and try and force something to happen. You can do a deal that just makes sense for you. Now, with it being in June now, I wanted to look at what teams are we at right now with being sellers and what teams could fall into that spot. Starting with the teams that they're going to be sellers. Los Angeles Angels, the Minnesota Twins, the Miami Marlins, the Colorado Rockies, and I believe the San Francisco Giants will be sellers. Of those teams, one of those automatically is just not going to trade with us. The Angels are just out. There's nothing there. Looking at the Twins, they had a couple of interesting pieces bats-wise. Byron Buxton could be an interesting piece for this Mariners team. A right-handed hitting outfielder that is really freaking good, can play in center field, can play in a corner if you'd prefer that, has speed. He's a really good baseball player. We all know who Byron Buxton is. That's an interesting piece. Orlando Arcia is another interesting piece. A right-handed hitting infielder that can hit lefties. Is that a route the Mariners want to go? If you look at the Miami Marlins, in terms of bats, there's not a whole lot there because it's a ton of youth on that team. But could Anthony Bender out of the bullpen make sense? This is a guy that's in the 77th percentile in strikeout rate right now, is 31 years old with a year and a half of control, has an ERA slightly over 3 right now, but the FIP is below 3. Last year had an ERA just barely over 2 in 50 innings and had 19 holds last year. Could he make sense as a right-handed reliever? Could John King make sense as a left-handed reliever? Also, 1.5 years of control, a super low slot from the left slide that provides weak contact and ground balls with his 6-pitch mix. His arm angle has dropped 4 degrees from last year, allowing for a little bit more of a breakout, but even last year he was good. This year he's just been incredibly dominant. A whip of 0.72 in 25 innings with a 2.52 ERA. Could that make sense? There's another guy with a year and a half of control. From the Rockies, another reliever. Could Jaden Hill make sense? This is a guy with a lot more control. Could Willie Castro make sense? Look, it's unknown whether he'd be traded because he just signed a contract with Colorado for 2 years. So he has a year and a half left. And he struggled to slug, but even so, it's still a 105 WRC plus versus lefties. And he's versatile. He can play all over the diamond. Jaden Hill is a guy, again, that is really interesting to me. A right-handed reliever. This is a guy I will come back to for sure. He doesn't hit arbitration until 2029. He's 26. Low 3/4 slot from the right side. Again, good stuff. Has super big velo on the fastball, averaging over 97 miles an hour. Slider, changeup, 4-seamer. 33% plus whiff rates on all 3 of those pitches. Has walked guys, though, this year. I think about him in comparison to a Matt Brash. You look at what Jaden Hill's season has looked like in 2026 compared to what Matt Brash's season has looked like. Now, look, Brash used to walk more guys, but Hill, there's some similarities there. Maybe not quite as high leverage, not quite as good, but an arm under Matt Brash can make a ton of sense. From the Giants, there's a lot of guys here. Casey Schmidt's a guy that's been talked about already a couple times. He's 27 with control through 2029. He's in his first year of arbitration next year. This is a right-handed hitter with a 141 WRC plus this season in his first true breakout year. Is above average in terms of sprint speed in the 74th percentile, has 5 stolen bases so far in 52 games. His numbers back up what he's done so far, has really high barrel and hard hit rates. Problem is he chases and doesn't really ever walk. That said, the average strikeout and whiff numbers are good. He's mostly been a DH, but he can play left, second, third, short, first as well. That's an interesting piece if you can fit him into the puzzle. Sam Hentges is another guy. Left-handed relievers in his 4th straight good year. First one with San Francisco, a year and a half of control at 29 years old. Another interesting piece. Keaton Wynn, a right-hander, has control through 2030 and is in a breakout season at 28 years old, which could cause him to be traded. He's a higher slot, a splitter 4-seam sinker mix, but gets a ton of weak contact. Guy that the Mariners could be super interested in. Eric Miller is a lefty that could be interesting to the Mariners at 28 years old. He also has more control through 2029. Has been good through the last 2 seasons and a little bit up and down so far this season, but he has huge strikeout numbers this year. If he cuts down on the walks he's had, this is another really good reliever from the left side. So even just looking at those couple teams, I mean, that's looking at 4 teams because the Angels don't really count, that I think will be sellers at the deadline. There are pieces there to go and get, especially in the bullpen. If you want a hitter, it's a little bit more limited, and if you want a real true impact bat, it's Byron Buxton. But the contract there is interesting. Will the Twins truly trade him? Unknown. They probably should. But especially if the Mariners want a controllable reliever with good stuff and tons of upside, there are options there if they want to go and spend that. Now, last thing to note, the teams that I have listed as teams that could potentially be sellers at the deadline that are sort of in the middle right now, and we'll see where they fall. The Diamondbacks, one of the Mariners' favorite trade partners. There would be pieces there if the Mariners want to try and go. The Cincinnati Reds, the New York Mets, who the Mariners are playing right now. The Washington Nationals, who the Mariners play coming up. The Boston Red Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, the Detroit Tigers, who the Mariners play this weekend. Kansas City Royals, who we saw last week. And then two in-division teams in the not Oakland Athletics, who seem less likely currently. And the Houston Astros, who we have no idea. There's a lot of teams that are sort of in limbo right now on what they'll do. And there are teams beyond just the ones I listed, I'm sure too, that people would be like, they might be sellers. But of the 5 teams right now that I believe are going to be sellers, there are pieces there to get, and we will talk about those players in more depth than what I just did. Jeff and I will be back on Friday morning's episode. Hopefully we're talking about a 9-game winning streak on that episode. But till then, thank you for listening. This has been episode 163 of the Light the W podcast. Till next time, peace. Go M's.